Indian Roadmaster vs BMW R18 Transcontinental 2021. A really big touring bike is a thing of its own. Anyone who swings on an iron pile weighing over 400 kilograms clearly has a different philosophy than someone who haggles over every gram on the machine. The BMW with the R18 Transcontinental and Indian with the Roadmaster want to prove that such big ships can still be ridden really well and pleasantly. Maybe it's not common nowadays, but as a child I loved to play quartet with my friends. Not the quartet where you have to get 4 of the same card, of course, but the quartet where you compare technical data. I had quartets of cars, airplanes, ships, trains, and of course motorcycles. And there it was quite common that with all data inevitably the highest value beat out all the other cards. If the BMW R18 Transcontinental had existed back then, it would have clearly been one of the most popular cards, because in terms of weight, it would have literally run all other bikes into the ground. Is the Indian Roadmaster really a lightweight against the BMW R18 TC? The NW states 427 kilos ready to ride, including 90% fuel for the new touring flagship. The 441 kilos measured by us fully fueled, including some extra features such as reverse gear, radar-supported cruise control, better Marshall music system, and additional headlights are not so far above the factory specification. The BMW R18 Transcontinental is now a really fat and also stands to it. And in the comparison with the Indian Roadmaster, to be honest, its 412 kilograms indicated by the factory are also only approximately 15 kilograms less than the factory specification of the BMW, and even if one sets the enormous 441 with the 412 kilograms in relation, it is straight times 6.5% more. That's not a decisive difference even for motorcycles half as heavy. On the BMW R18 Transcontinental you need a decent stance. In any case, too little to make the BMW look completely overloaded and unrideable compared to the Indian. Instead, both machines are surprisingly easy to handle and move once they're underway, because before when maneuvering you notice the weight nevertheless strongly. Above all, when balancing up from the stand, one should have a tidy stand on the R18 Transcontinental. For this purpose, BMW has also given the TC a really low seat height of only 740 mm. Indian goes down to 673.1 mm on the Roadmaster and allows even really small pilots to maneuver the heavy metal safely. The fact that BMW at least offers an optional reverse gear is a credit to the Bavarians, because on the Indian you need help to push the heavy vehicle out of the awkward position when it is parked awkwardly. The Indian Roadmaster can be pulled up more playfully. But now finally to the driving. As already mentioned, both the German and the US American behave really affable in operation. The reason for this is the pleasantly controllable clutches and, of course, the powerful 2-cylinder engines. With displacements of 1802 cubic at the BMW and even 1890 cubic at the Indian, it is within each case scarcely over 90 HP, not primarily around sheer achievement, but around correctly bulbous torque. If the 158 Nm at 3000 revolutions per minute on the R18 Transcontinental are already impressive, the Bavarian finds its master in the Roadmaster with 171 Nm at 3000 revolutions per minute. Overall, the Indian can be pulled up from way down in the rev range even more playfully and intuitively, but you also have to give credit to the BMW technicians for the good tuning without any jerking or shaking when revving up. Of course, there are still enough vibrations on both. Over 900 cubes per pod cannot and should not be hidden, but just enough good vibrations that comfort does not suffer. And there you are even happy about a certain amount of noise, which you would not have expected at all thanks to Euro 5. And here, too, the Indian with its throaty V2 sound can rumble a little more to the fore than the BMW with its dull boxer sound. The BMW R18 Transconti gives itself completely to the comfort. Obviously, the BMW engineers also really wanted to trim everything to the perfect trip and chose a more inconspicuous sound for it, because comfort is definitely not neglected on the big BMW. The chassis is clearly more inclined towards comfort than sport, which is why the R18 Transconti can sometimes sway in fast bends and reminds you as a precaution that you should leave unmotivated course corrections in the radius. Comfort is also in the foreground of the Indian Roadmaster's chassis, but there is a bit more feedback, so that you can direct the Indian a bit more precisely through the usual radii of local country roads. If you dare to ride a 400 kilo machine, you should also be able to grip it properly. In the brakes, however, the two behemoths do not give each other much. Both require a certain amount of manual force, so that really proper deceleration. Obviously, Both manufacturers assume that someone who can handle a motorcycle weighing over 400 kilograms can also apply the brakes a little more firmly. And quite honestly, no one needs a too nervous or even toxic brake on such a big ship, which constantly brings unrest to the ride. The Indian was there before the BMW and thus sets the standards. The biggest difference is probably the ergonomics of the two, in particular the position of the footboards for the feet, because the Indian scores with the usual far forward mounted footboards, which subsequently allow many different knee angles and thus a maximum of comfort. The BMW is a bit different. Because of the two cylinders, you are clearly limited and have to accept comparatively far back mounted footrests. This shape is not uncomfortable either, and if BMW had been the first manufacturer of such thick things, one would perhaps be surprised about the position on the Indian. However, the Yanks were first, and now BMW has to accept that their solution is not really up to standard. With the equipment list, none must hide before the other. Otherwise, absolute luxury is celebrated in terms of seating position and equipment on both. There is truly nothing missing. Both machines spoil with different riding modes, traction control, automatic stability control, ABS, color TFT display, connectivity with Navi function, full LED lighting, sound-strong music system, heated grips, heated seat, keyless ride, cruise control, and a trunk system with over 100 liters capacity at the BMW and even over 140 liters at the Indian. The BMW has as a special feature still a standard engine drag torque control and an integral ABS, in which the front brake is also active when the rear brake is applied. Optionally, the Bavarian can also be ordered the even better music system Marshall Stage 2, the adaptive cornering lights, hill start control, the radar-supported cruise control SCC, and the aforementioned reverse gear. Incidentally, everything was included on the test bike. But that's still not all. The R18 TC can also be spruced up with a number of really snazzy options, 719 parts, like the flip-flop paint job on our test bike. The Indian Roadmaster has a trump card up its sleeve, the electric windshield. But despite BMW's flattering pampering policy, I miss one element on the R18 Transcontinental that comes standard on the Indian: the electric windshield, which can be extended and retracted quite easily via a dedicated button on the right handlebar. On the one hand, this provides the Indian Roadmaster with optimum wind and weather protection, but on request it can be transformed into a purist bagger with a low windshield. With so many similarities, despite fundamental differences, the decision for one and against the other will really only be made according to personal preferences, whereby I would like to give the position of the running boards, the optional reverse gear, and the electrically adjustable windshield as the main points of reference. In any case, you won't be able to decide on the price. At just under 40,000 euros each in the basic version, the two touring steamers are also in agreement when it comes to plundering the household budget.